As we come into Advent, now our second week, the second candle lit, our perspective is one of waiting. Our perspective is one of waiting in a place that is not fully a light. There is darkness. There is anticipation. And we hear in Advent, especially the second candle, the third candle, the second and third weeks, we hear from the same person every year, John the Baptizer, John the Messenger. And he comes into the gloom. And he comes with a message from the heart of God. And in our lessons and carols today, several readings were from the prophet Isaiah. The prophets are people who don't predict the future. The prophets are people who have entered into the heart of God by God's desire. And they speak from the heart of God to God's people. They speak with the vision of God. And they share and place upon God's people the message, the heart, the vision of God, so that they might know how to be in the darkness, so they might know how to live, where to aim themselves. And the prophets talk about a day. They talk about the day of the Lord. And they talk about it in many different ways. But a day is a dawning. The day when the light is all the way up. A day when God's heart is fully experienced and known. A day when God's vision is realized. A day, said Isaiah in one image, when the enemies no longer tear at one another. The lion and the lamb are reconciled. A day when what is low is brought level. What is high is brought down. What is crooked is made straight. What is rough is made smooth. And some of the images of that day are very challenging when the light's fully up. On that day, said the prophet Malachi, the very last prophet in our Bible before the story of Jesus comes. He talks about that day. And he says that the Lord will come. He'll send a messenger first. That's John. And then the Lord, when He comes upon His people, He'll come and bring His day. And then He says, who can stand on that day? And He's seeing the other side. That He comes, you see, He asks that question, who can stand? Because He comes like a refiner's fire. He comes like soap, Fuller's soap. Well, I know the Fuller brush man, but I don't know what Fuller soap is, so I just guess that it's a very, very strong agent. And so the prophets talk about this strong fire coming, and John will talk about it next week. He comes, the one coming after me, with fire. He will sort things out. And so, who can stand on that day? And our reply is, you can stand. You can stand on that day. We can stand on that day. Because God's heart has been shown to us. And last Sunday we heard it when Jesus said, On that day, stand up. Lift up your heads. Your redemption is coming upon you. And we can stand because we hear in the prophets from the heart of God of the birth of a son. We hear of light that comes into the darkness. Over 30 years ago, 30 years and about 3 months, my daughter was born. And it was an awesome experience as I got to be there with Lynn and through the delivery, the labor, the delivery, and the birth. And as you'd expect, when Jennifer was born, the first thing that the nurse did was place Jennifer on her mother's breast. And then after a while, when other things needed to be tended to, they took Jennifer, the nurse took Jennifer and gave her to me. And she was a mess. If you've been there, those of you that have been there, you know. It's a mess. And my great joy and task was to take her to this little, very hospital-like, sterile, rectangular tub with warm water and wash her. Just wash off all the mess and welcome her and cleanse her after her mother has. And so what the prophet John and all the prophets in their own ways say to God's people is, come and be washed. John the Baptist says to the people of Israel, come Israel, come out to the baptism, to the washing of repentance for forgiveness. Come to be washed and cleansed. You are, Israel, a mess. You're a mess on the outside. You're a mess on the inside. Come into the hands of God. Come and place yourself in the hands of God, the God who delights in you, the God who loves you, the God who will wash you. You cannot clean that mess off yourself. Come to the one who will hold you and wash you. This is the heart of God. This is what we are waiting for. The ultimate cleansing, deliverance, when all flesh shall see salvation. So the invitation of Advent, we live in a mess. We live in a world that is a mess. We have messy lives. We have the messes we have made, we're responsible for. There are the messes that others have thrown us into. There are the messes that just seem to be there all the time. You don't even know how or why anymore. And in this waiting, in the midst of struggle and chaos and pain, John says, come. Come to the one who will hold you. Come to the one who will wash you. Come. Come, O Israel. Come, O people. For the light has come into the darkness. The darkness has not overcome it. Come to the light. Come to that one who brings light and life and joy and peace. Let it begin. Come. And let's trust something. The prophet speaking from the heart of God today, Isaiah, he says, every valley, every place that's low will be lifted. Come and be lifted out of the valleys of desolation. He will be with you. His hands will hold you. Trust that. The mountains, all that's high and mighty, it will be brought down. And that's good. And what is crooked in us, twisted, it will be made straight. What has been roughed up and ruined, it will be made smooth again and restored. Trust that is the work when we're in the hands of God. We can decide. We will participate in the saving work of God. And we come with our mess. And we come one day at a time, and we wait. And surely, all flesh will see salvation. Surely, as Paul said, the Lord who has begun a good work in you will bring it to completion on that day. Thanks be to God.